So you are looking to move abroad, but you're feeling a little bit disappointed with the progress you have made so far. What could be holding you back? Well, in this video, I'm going to share with you 7 things I hear people say all of the time that are the reasons that they are not making faster progress or are not already living in their dream country. Now, if you've already subscribed to my channel, thank you. If you have not yet, please consider doing so and clicking that notification bell. My name is Patricia Brooks, and in 2018, I moved to the south of France. I'd wanted to live here for about 2.5 years before I made my move, and I did very little to make it happen. And that was in large part because I wasn't sure how I would be able to pull it off financially. And that leads to the first thing on the list, and that is, Patricia, I'd really love to move abroad, but I don't have remote work where I can work anywhere, or I don't have a job in my target country. I don't know how I'm going to support myself. And this is a valid concern because you do need to be able to feed yourself and, take care of yourself financially. So it's not something that I think is unimportant. I feel that sometimes it gets in the way because people can tend to say, well, once I get this remote job, then I'll start planning in earnest, right? And so that job has a weird way of not materializing. And that has to do with something I'm going to share with you at the very end. 2 things that are at the heart of most, if not all, of the things that are on this list. So number 1 is I don't have a remote job, so that's what's holding me up. Number 2 has to do with uncertainty and fear, right? What if I move abroad and I hate it? What if I move abroad and I fail? What if I move abroad and I can't support myself? What if? And this is living your life in the future, in a negative future. There is a possibility that the what if could be, what if I move abroad and I love it? What if I move abroad and I find my dream job? What if I move abroad and this amazing thing happens to me? But we tend to focus on the negative. And this holds you back because, well, you may not be happy where you currently are. However, you know your current situation. You've been living it. And it may be comfortable in its familiarity. The unknown, the uncertainty is scary, especially when you paint the picture of a negative future. And so why would you really, truly be taking steps to make your move abroad happen if you think that those things, those negative things are going to happen? So that's number 2. Number 3 has to do with overwhelm. I speak to a lot of people who want to move abroad, but they're uncertain of what country. And that's okay. There are a lot of neat places you might want to live. However, if you have 5 countries on your list and you have not narrowed that down to 1 or maybe 2, then of course you're overwhelmed, right? You can't figure out what is required to live in all of these places because all of the requirements are different. And so that creates confusion. And a confused mind always says no, as I've learned in my marketing classes. So you can figure out where you want to move by asking yourself why you want to move abroad. What are some of the things you want to experience, have, or do when you're living abroad? And this could relate to things that you currently do in the United States. For example, if you want to be able to visit family and friends a couple of times a year and don't want to be more than a 6-hour plane ride from your hometown, well, make that a criteria. And then you can start seeing, well, what countries and cities fall into that place, and you can start narrowing down there. Then you might say, oh, I love surfing, so I want to go to a place where I can surf. You remember going on vacations on some landlocked countries that you thought you might want to live in, but this criteria of surfing has helped you to narrow that down further. And then once you get down to your country, then you can feel less overwhelmed because there's only one set of requirements that you've got to figure out. Now, as I go through the list, if something resonates with you, comment below. And if there are other reasons I have not included in the list, let me know what your reasons are for not being further along with your move abroad plans. Number 4 has to do with loneliness and feeling alone. Now, this is something that I experienced, and even though I have introvert tendencies, I love my alone time. I felt this in a profound way. So it can be real. But there are things that you can do to overcome or deal with the loneliness. If you're missing family and friends, there's always Zoom. If you want to make those connections and make it easier for you, maybe you select a country. Maybe you put this on the criteria from number 3. You select a country where people are warm and welcoming, right? Or maybe you select a place where there is a big expat community and you know that you will fit in, right? But there are ways to deal with this loneliness, and thinking about how lonely you might be goes back to number 2, which is that future negative thinking, right? There are ways to overcome. Number 5 has to do with pets. I've got a pet, and I don't know how to move my pet abroad. This is something that I understand you would be concerned with. Your pet is part of your family, and how you transport him or her to your new country is really important. But there are ways to do it. There is an organization called Avenue who specializes in traveling with and moving abroad with pets. There are people fly pets every day, so it's not impossible. And so this is something that is holding you back. I recommend that you look into ways that you can comfortably transport your pet. And I want to share that I have a member who's a part of my program, and she is moving to France next year. And she booked her cruise to Europe so that she could bring her large dog aboard without having to, fly him in the hull of a plane. This was really important to her. So what she did was she did her research and she said, okay, my move date is contingent on when I can book this cruise. And she had to book like a year and a half in advance, but it was important to her. And so that is another way that you might be able to deal with this. Number 6 has to do with safety and feeling safe. I've seen a number of posts and I've spoken to a couple of people who say, I'm afraid to move abroad because I'm not sure it's going to be safe. And this can arise for a number of reasons. Number 1, if you've been a victim of a violent crime, then this could definitely be something that concerns you. And if you have been, you may want to talk to a therapist to work through those concerns. Number 2 is, media can portray other countries as being unsafe. And so you may buy into what media says. Do your own research. Check into that. Number 3 is maybe the country you're coming from is more violent than you would like it to be, and you just think all other countries are just like where you're coming from. Again, do your research. Figure that out. You may want to bring, some protection, a weapon with you when you move abroad, thinking that is necessary, but it might not be required. So safety concerns can be something that holds people back. Number 7 has to do with age. I'm too old to move abroad. I moved abroad when I was 51, and there are people who are moving abroad at all ages, young and old alike. There's a woman, Janice, in France, who moved when she was 70. She's got a YouTube channel, so you might want to check her out if this is a concern for you. You may want to, if you are older, you may want to consider certain things. You should consider certain things, but it's not possible for you because you're of a certain age. So those are 7 reasons I hear quite frequently for not having made more progress to living abroad. Now, I don't discount any of them. I think these reasons are true for the people who share them with me. I also believe that at their core lies something a little bit deeper, and it can be one of two things, or it's probably two of two things that I'm going to share with you right now. The first one is a lot of times people say they want to do something, but deep down in their heart, they don't believe it's possible or possible for them to achieve. And when you have that, when you're at odds, with your belief, you may tell yourself one thing, you may tell other people one thing, and you may even put forth effort to make it happen, such as, for example, looking for a remote job. But in your lack of belief that it's possible for you, you may be a little bit lackluster in your search. Maybe your resume isn't the way you would like it to be, or maybe when you're interviewing, you just come across as unsure, right? And that can color your experience in getting this remote job that will help lead the way for you to live abroad, right? So that belief factor, belief that it's possible, belief that it's possible for you has to be there, right? Because if you don't have that, it's going to be a struggle. But the second thing, and I think this goes hand in hand, and maybe it's even more important, is that at the core of any one of these is potentially that you have not truly made a decision that you are going to live abroad. Now, saying you're going to move abroad one day, if you say, if only I could, those are things that aren't decisions. You have not made a decision. You're not in that mode of finding a way or making one. And I think these two things, belief in yourself that it's possible and committing, making a decision, a true decision, will help to lead you down a path where you see opportunities where before there were none, right? It has this magical way of happening. So those are 7 reasons that people tell me they're not further along, and the 2 core underlying reasons for most, if not all, on this list. How does this sound to you? Does this make sense? Does it sound like it's a bunch of bull? Comment below. Now, I do help people make a move abroad confidently. I help them work through their doubts, their fears. I help them work through the logistical steps that they'll need to take. And if you think that working with somebody to help you move through your process a little more quickly would be helpful, then let's have a conversation. I'm going to put a link to my calendar in the description where you can find time for us to talk. Now, if you found this video helpful or insightful, definitely give it a thumbs up, share it, and subscribe. That's all I have for you today. I will see you again next time. Bye for now.